This is NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Whelen, also brought to you by Hercules Tires. Now, with the latest NASCAR local, regional, touring, and international racing news and views, here are Hannah Newhouse and Kyle Rickey.
Welcome to NASCAR Coast to Coast here on the Motor Racing Network. Kyle Rickey with you here this week, flying solo. Hannah Newhouse on assignment. She will be back with us next week here on MRN. Lots of things happening in the short track world this week. A lot of big news, whether it be here in the United States and in Europe. So let's jump into some of those announcements. And oh, by the way, we have a race to talk about as well. NASCAR, or make that the ARCA Menards East Series, finally getting back on track after a near 4-month break. But in some major sponsor news, Advanced Auto Parts replacing Whelen Engineering as the title sponsor of the NASCAR Weekly Series. The Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series, as it is now known, pits drivers against each other at over 60 NASCAR sanctioned tracks across the country as drivers run for state, provincial, and national champions. Obviously, we have some weekly tracks in Canada as well that partake in this program. The Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series had paused their operation because of the COVID-19 crisis back in March, but as tracks now begin to come online in different states across the country, drivers are beginning to earn points toward one of those championships beginning on June 6th. That was the first day drivers were eligible to get points. So the Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series, something new to get used to for 2020, and we'll be keeping an eye on any changes that may come along the line as far as how champions are crowned this year, because every state and every region of this country currently is affected differently. In some overseas news, the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, they came out with a revised schedule for later this year. They were supposed to open up their season back at the end of April. Instead, they're going to wait a couple of months and open in September, on September 12th and 13th. That'll be their first weekend with the NASCAR Grand Prix of Italy in Rome. Craig, I think we should probably do a show from that event. October 3rd and 4th, the NASCAR Grand Prix of Belgium at Zolder. And then October 17th and 18th, we have the NASCAR Grand Prix of Germany at the Hockenheim Ring, one of the legendary tracks of Europe. On November 14th and 15th, the Grand Prix of the Czech Republic in Most. And December 5th and 6th, the NASCAR Grand Prix of Spain in Valencia. And that Most race was in November 14th and 15th. And then we go December 5th and 6th. First time I think we've had a NASCAR Whelen Euro season go into the month of December. The NASCAR Peak Mexico Series ran into December a year ago as scheduled. This obviously not scheduled, but they will crown their champion in Valencia at the Grand Prix of Spain just a couple of weeks before the holiday season. Also over the weekend, the ARCA Menards East Series in action at Toledo. The Hers Potato Chips 200 at Toledo Speedway. Ty Gibbs picked up the win. In fact, he dominated the event, leading 183 of the 204 laps. He held off Sam Mayer by 0.2 of a second at the finish to claim his first win in his second series start. And oh, by the way, he finished third back in February at the season opener at the New Smyrna Speedway down in Florida. Brett Holmes finished in third, Chase Cabry fourth, Nick Sanchez rounded out the top five. The race was slowed by 8 caution flags, had 9 lead changes among Gibbs and Mayer. And the next event scheduled for the ARCA Menards East Series going to take place on July 25th at Berlin Raceway in Michigan. The ARCA Menards Series returns to action this weekend at the Talladega Superspeedway on Saturday. Ty Gibbs won the event. He won't be racing at Talladega, but he will be on the show here on NASCAR Coast to Coast to talk about that race win, his season to date, and his upcoming events, which includes Pocono coming up in just over a week from now after the break. Ty Gibbs joins us here on NASCAR Coast to Coast.
Whelen designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelen product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on site to meet the toughest industry certifications. On the road, in the air, and around the world, Whelen is trusted to be seen, trusted to be heard, trusted to perform.
Sir, are you aware you were going 40 miles an hour? This is a residential area.
Sure, but I'm on my lawnmower? Wait, am I getting a ticket?
No, I've just never seen anyone top 9 miles an hour on one of those bad boys. And mow their entire lawn in 30 seconds? What got into you?
Well, it did fuel up at Sunoco this morning.
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Power isn't born, it's built over time. For over 65 years, Hercules Tires has been providing the muscle to move more drivers. Whatever the vehicle, whatever the terrain. And we back it with a powerful protection plan. So wherever the road or the trail takes you, we have the selection, value, and strength to get you there. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Back to NASCAR Coast to Coast, brought to you by Whelen and by Hercules Tires. Here are Hannah Newhouse and Kyle Rickey.
Back here on NASCAR Coast to Coast, here on the Motor Racing Network, and the ARCA Menards East Series finally got back in action this past weekend at the Toledo Speedway with the running of the Hers Potato Chips 200. Ty Gibbs able to pick up the race win, his first in that series in his second career start, and he joins us now here via Zoom. And Ty, congratulations on the win. First off, before we start talking about the race, what did you do with yourself between the last race in, where was it, like Phoenix back in March all the way to this past week?
Yeah, man, it was a long way to go back racing. It was definitely try to make myself a better driver. All those things that you can do, everything I can possibly do to make myself the best driver I could possibly be. But I can't thank my team enough for getting us back to the racetrack and working on the cars and working long hours to get back going here. And but it was a fun time. It was good to go back to Toledo, and it just feels good to go back racing in general.
And it feels good to get back into victory lane, I'm sure, as well, right out of the box. Talk about the race on Saturday between you and Sam. He challenged you a couple of times to the race lead, led a few laps, but you led the majority of them.
Yeah, it was really good. We were our car wasn't as fast as the 21 was, but we worked on it, and we were pretty loose all day, and then we worked on it, and we got it better towards the end. We still weren't perfect, but at least we know what we did wrong and what we could do next time. So we have that in the back of our heads, and we're moving on to the next race, Pocono, next weekend. So it should be a fun time.
What goes through your mind when the caution flag comes out with, 3-4 laps to go in the race the other day? Yeah,
I will understand why people like to absolutely just destroy their stuff with 3 to go, but some people like to do that, and you can see that especially. But I just keep focused on trying to get that checkered flag, and that's what I did, and luckily we ended up in victory lane.
Did the car change that much over the course of the race? You had a couple of those competition caution breaks where you were able to come onto pit road, work on the car, not gain or lose position on the pit lane, those controlled pit stops. Did you make many adjustments or any adjustments to the car?
Yeah, we definitely made adjustments. We were really loose the whole time, really, really loose. And we'd fire off really good, but then that 21, you could go back and watch. He was better on long runs, so I just had to work my butt off and keep him behind me. And then we made adjustments for the whole day and try to tighten my car up. And then, it felt good to win, though, because that was one of those deals where you had to work your butt off or your tail off to get that win. And, I did. And it was a great deal. I can't thank my team enough.
It's been quite a year and a half for you in the what is now the ARCA East and West Series and the ARCA Menards Series. Looking at the stats here, wins on mile tracks of Phoenix and New Hampshire last summer, plus ARCA East win at Gateway and Salem, or the ARCA Menards Series. What do you like better? Where are you most comfortable? Because a lot of those wins up until recently have come at some of the bigger racetracks of the sport where the speeds are high.
Yeah, I definitely like the big tracks are definitely way more fun than the little tiny bull rings. But the bull rings teach you a lot. They're really rough. They're really very, 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 very old. And I like the new tracks more. They're way more fun. Phoenix is definitely my favorite track I've ever been to in my life. So I like going to that place. It's a blast to get back out there. I've had good luck, and I get to go to Pocono next week, which should be really cool because the last couple of years, the car they've had and the drivers have gone through this deal have been really good in the development program. So it should be really good and really fun, and the car should be pretty good going back there. And hopefully we'll go have a shot to win like those drivers had the last couple times.
Just 17 years old. You turned 18 on October 4th. That means no Talladega for you this coming weekend with the Super Speedway. But will you be watching? I assume you will be. But will you be paying attention? And what will you try to learn as far as Super Speedway racing?
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know if you can learn that much from watching our car Super Speedway race. It's like maybe I could probably take my grandma and put her in one of the cars, and maybe she'll have a shot to win just because you're single file. Nobody ever tries to go out and do anything. But hopefully somebody will go with Riley this weekend and not run single file with their teammates, and we can have an entertaining race. But if not, then I'll sit back there and have a couple of Monster Energies and watch the race.
What kind of super speedway racer do you think you will be when you are able to jump in a car next February in Daytona?
Yeah, I hope I will be entertaining. I hope I'm not as boring as some of these other guys are right now. But, hopefully I'll have somebody else in there that will want to have fun with me, and we'll go try to pass everybody on the top lane, not just run single file. But I don't know. It's always hard to predict what you're going to be. You can't really – sometimes I don't like to do that. You don't want to get yourself – messed up thinking that you're going to be something, but you're not that, you're different. So, but I don't know. I'll see. I'm always excited to watch every single race I can possibly go to and watch on TV and learn as much as I can. So I'm excited for the next couple of weeks. I've definitely like these midweek races have been weird in the NASCAR schedule, but I'm ready to go back racing.
It's kept us busy, no doubt. Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday. You mentioned Pocono next week. Have you jumped on the sim yet? Are you a simmer when it comes to learning some of these new racetracks? And what do you like about Pocono next Friday night?
Yeah, Pocono is a really cool track, and I've done a lot of laps on the simulator the last 4 years, man. Maybe since Riley's been going there, and since 2017 when he won his first deal there. So I've done a lot of laps. on the sim there, and I've done them in a lot of different cars. So hopefully it will translate. The sim in any sim in the world is not as close as it is in real life, not even close yet. So you always have to be you can't go out there and go full speed just like a sim. So you don't want to wreck on lap one in practice. So you always got to take it more cautious. But I've watched a lot of video, and as much as I can just to learn. So I feel pretty confident going on that race, but like I said, always try to keep just no emotion going on a race. Try to stay the same. Try to go get that checker flag. So I'll be entertaining. I'm pretty excited for that race. It's a big track, man. It's like a big Phoenix, 3 different corners if you count the dog leg as a corner, and it should be cool. Really fast, biggest track I've been on, and the fastest track I've been on. So it's going to be really fun.
And I have heard all those tracks are modeled after an old racetrack, but we'll talk more about that next weekend once we get to the Pocono Raceway in Pennsylvania on the Motor Racing Network. A lot of other short tracks coming up as well as the ARCA series start to come back to life, whether it be the ARCA Menards series, the East, the West. You mentioned Pocono. What's on your schedule beyond Pocono next weekend?
Pocono after Pocono, we got Lucas Oil.
In Indianapolis, yeah.
Really, I think that's the last one they've scheduled. So, that's definitely up next. We had good luck there last year. We had definitely a shot to win that one, and everybody saw what happened there. So, I'm really excited moving these short tracks forward. I think we have got our cars really dialed in for these deals, and just how I like them, so we can get some wins. And but everything, I just can't thank my team enough. They've worked their butts off, over these short weeks to get these cars ready and limited time. So it's been a rough couple weeks, but we're ready to go back racing like we were last year.
And there will be fans in the stands at Lucas Oil Raceway, or as I like to call it, IRP, at Indianapolis Raceway Park in Indianapolis, just outside of Indianapolis, Indiana. Final question for you. We've talked a lot about ARCA. Every young driver, I'm sure, wants to make that next step up into the national spotlight of NASCAR, whether it be a Gander truck or an Xfinity car? Is that something that you're obviously hoping to do at some point? I assume you are. And when would you like to make that move?
Yeah, right now.
Dip your toe in the water.
Yeah, right now I'm just focused on what I'm doing. I don't feel like I want to get ahead of myself. I don't feel like that's good for anybody. So I always just try to focus what I'm doing, try to make myself the best driver I could possibly be and go and win as many races I can possibly win. So I'm always focused on my footsteps and what I'm doing right now in the present. So I'll just keep working forward and see how many wins we can get and see what happens.
That last step was successful last weekend at Toledo. The next step next week at the Pocono Raceway in Pennsylvania. Ty, congratulations again on the win. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the Pocono Mountains next Friday.
Thank you so much. Thanks for letting me come on the show.
We appreciate it. Ty Gibbs joining us here on NASCAR Coast to Coast. More about your local racetracks that are hopefully opening up soon here around the country after the break.
Whelen designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelen product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on site to meet the toughest industry certifications. On the road, in the air, and around the world, Whelen is trusted to be seen, trusted to be heard, trusted to perform.
Power isn't born, it's built over time. For over 65 years, Hercules Tires has been providing the muscle to move more drivers. Whatever the vehicle, whatever the terrain, and we back it with a powerful protection plan. So wherever the road or the trail takes you, we have the selection, value, and strength to get you there. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Back to NASCAR Coast to Coast, brought to you by Whelen and by Hercules Tires. Here are Hannah Newhouse and Kyle Rickey.
Wrapping up another edition here of NASCAR Coast to Coast. I want to thank Ty Gibbs for taking some time to join us from the shop there at Joe Gibbs Racing, one of the true young talents coming up through this sport. A lot going on here. We talked about Talladega coming up this weekend. It will be live on the Motor Racing Network here on Saturday afternoon. The NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour back in action as well this coming weekend. Their season opener for the first time ever in the month of June at Jennerstown Speedway in Pennsylvania. The Wade Cole Memorial 133 presented by Dunleavy Truck and Trailer Repair. Of course, Wade passed away prior to the start of what would have been the original season back in March, I believe, because of an accident in his garage. Longtime competitor on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. One of the independents would show up in an open trailer, and it would be usually him and maybe one or two other guys working on a car. Number 33. So that's where the lap count comes from for this weekend's race. The event will be run without fans in attendance because of the state and local guidelines due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but will be able to be streamed live on NASCAR's Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold on that app. Over 30 entries are expected as we tape this show late Monday afternoon. The entry list has not been posted as of yet, but it's going to be a good one. Over 30 cars. These modified teams have been raring to go up here in a region of the country that usually has a lot of big modified races, whether it be promoted locally or by a sanctioning body like NASCAR. We have not had much of that thus far this season. So they are ready to go. That is this weekend at Jennerstown. First time since 2006 since the modifieds race there. Ted Christopher picked up that win now over 14 years ago. The NASCAR Pinty Series, their first three events of the season at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, Jacasa Raceway, and Autodrome Chartier has been postponed. Their next scheduled event, fingers crossed, July 4th at Sunset Speedway in Innisfil, Ontario, Canada. And the ARCA West Series, looking to get back into action here in just over a week time on June 27th. They'll have twin races at the Utah Motorsports Campus in Tulare, Utah. In some local action over the weekend and coming up, Irwindale Speedway ran this past weekend. Trevor Huddleston won both of the late model features. Not much of a surprise there. Always solid contender at that racetrack. The second event was shortened after Dylan Gardner hit the end of the pit wall. He was okay, but did some structural damage to the wall, which forced officials to end that event early at Irwindale. Mahoning Valley Speedway in Layton, Pennsylvania. Jimmy Blewett picked up the modified race win, one of the few modified races that have been won and run this year outside of New Smyrna. The Hickory Motor Speedway hosted the Cars Tour over the weekend. Bubba Pollard picked up the win in the super late models, and Corey Heim won in the late model main event. And at New Smyrna Speedway, Mike Amato picked up the street stock win, make that the super stock win, while Brad May, another familiar name to Central Florida, picked up the race win in the super late model 50-lap event. Good news up here in the Northeast, Monadnock Speedway in New Hampshire. They have been cleared to run this coming Saturday. They will have their season opening event. It will be a limited capacity in the grandstands, but the good news is the restrictions have been lifted enough for them to get cars on the racetrack in competition. Same here in Connecticut as of today, actually, as of the date that this show will air on the Motor Racing Network here in Connecticut. We move into phase 2, and that allows the Stafford Motor Speedway to put cars on the racetrack on June 26th. Will be their first event. That is next Friday night for their weekly program. And Tucson back in action this weekend as well with the Outlaw late models, the Pro Stocks, the Thunder Stocks, and the Hornets out there in Tucson, Arizona. This will be, I believe, their third event since reopening. So we'll be having more and more to talk about next week. Hannah will be back with me, and we'll recap the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour event at Jennerstown, the ARCA Menards Series race at Talladega, and a lot of these short tracks that are beginning to open up shop for the first time this season. I want to thank Ty Gibbs again for joining us here on the show and congratulate him on the win at Toledo. For producer Craig Moore, I'm Kyle Rickey. Thanks for tuning in to this week's NASCAR Coast to Coast. We'll talk to you next week.
You've been listening to NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Whelen, also brought to you by Hercules Tires. NASCAR Coast to Coast is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.